So, fear extinguishing. A lot of my clients would have heard me say this word multiple times, and I'm going to share with you guys what it means. And as you know, sometimes when I'm explaining things, I always like to explain things in a very simplistic way. Sometimes there's no need for all the neuroscience and the, psychological aspect of things. Sometimes it's just put it into very simple terms to show people that it can be done. They can overcome this. When you simplify it, tell them what they need to remove, what they need to do, what they need to add, and make them very self-aware of how to overcome the anxiety disorder, the panic attacks, and the agoraphobia. And that's exactly what I only speak on here. I don't speak about any other mental health topics, any other mental health disorders. It's specifically agoraphobia, panic attacks, intrusive thoughts, bit of OCD, anxiety disorders, okay? So, fear extinguishing, what does that mean? Well, what's a fire extinguisher? You have a fire, you have the fire extinguisher. You extinguish the fire, okay? Same with fear extinguishing. But how do we go into that in terms of anxiety? What do I mean when I speak about fear extinguishing? Fear extinguishing, as I said, I use this term a lot with clients, and it's basically going out to put out the fear, okay? But the thing is about this type of fear, like it's not like a normal fire, and this fear is so big. It's been going on for many years, okay? It's a bushfire, okay? So one little fire extinguisher ain't gonna put that out. You're gonna need multiple fire extinguishers, one a day, okay? Full one a day to put out this big fire, okay? Put out this big chunk of fear that is stuck right inside you, okay? And in order to do that, if we want to put out a big fire, the fire extinguisher, we're gonna need a lot of them, okay? So, because we're dealing with the most primitive part of the brain, the amygdala, okay, it's there for survival. It's panic attacks and anxiety attacks aren't the enemy, okay? It's a reaction, it's our fears towards the cognitive misinterpretations of the anxiety symptoms, okay? Ferocious they can be, yes, we know that, we understand that. But let's normalize it a bit. I always want to normalize. I always want people to know that this, you can get over this, you can break free of this, but it takes goddamn hard work. Some people, like for me, overcoming it, I had to go in and face my own death because I was so terrified of death. I thought I was going to have a heart attack, a stroke, a seizure, I thought I was going to go crazy. I had to go in and face all that. So there's no luck when people overcome anxiety disorders. It takes sheer willpower, strength. It takes everything from a human being to overcome this, okay? There's no luck involved. If you overcome this, you ain't lucky. You're a very, very strong and resilient person. So, fear extinguishing, okay? And how I bring this across to clients is that, okay, listen, there's a big chunk of fear, and in order to put this out, we have to consistently, have a lot of self-discipline with going into the ultimate panic, the 10 out of 10 where you think, I'm done here. When you're in that panic attack and it's like, all your senses are gone, you're like, this is it now. This is it. Why did I do this? This is doomsday. I need to call someone. I need to do this. I need to do that. I'm going to die here. It's going to be too much stress that's going to cause a heart attack. Bullshit. Doesn't happen. It's going to be so much stress on me that I need to get carted away to a psychiatric ward. Bullshit. Doesn't happen. Okay, so fear extinguishing is going into those moments, okay? And going into that panic so many times that every time you go in, you're extinguishing that fear. And you have to go in multiple times because this is a big fire. You do not have one fire extinguisher to put out a big, huge, monstrous fire. You have to go in so consistently, okay? So courageously, and get close enough to the fire to even put it out, okay? So you're gonna need to understand fear extinguishing, okay? And it's one of those words that I use a lot, which is becoming like my mantra almost, okay? The clients, we're gonna do a lot of fear extinguishing today. Who's ready to put out some fucking fires, okay? And that's what it is. This is about bravery. This is not about anything else. It's about understanding. It's about having self-awareness. It's about having a lot of self-compassion for yourself as well. It's not your fault that you went through an anxiety disorder, that you had your first panic attack and you thought you were dying. So then what does a human being naturally do? A human being naturally retreats. If something is dangerous and you think that it's life-threatening, what are you going to do? sit there in front of it with a nice bowl of soup and eat it. No, you're not. You're going to retreat. You're going to want to leave work. You're going to want to go home. You're going to want this safe person, but you're going to want all that. That's not your fault. So whatever got you here in the first place, okay, that's not your fault, but it's now your responsibility to get your life back. And that can be done. And it's done with fear extinguishing, okay? So the best ways to extinguish a fear is that this is no ordinary fire, okay? This is a big ass fire, okay? And it's scary, okay? It can't harm you, okay? It's, we all know that panic attacks can't harm us, but my God, can they ruin their lives? Or can they ruin our lives and the lives of many people? Yes, they can, okay? So we're gonna need to be brave enough, number one, to pick up the actual fire extinguisher. We're gonna need to be actually big and brave enough to pick up that, because that weighs a little bit. Then we're gonna be so fearful to even get close enough to the fire to even put it out. And if we're miles away with a fire extinguisher and we're standing back, we're extinguishing it, it's not even reaching the fire. How are we going to put something out if we're not willingly going forward enough, close enough to extinguish that fear? How? If we're standing miles away from the fire with an actual fire extinguisher, oh, I'm not going close to that, but I'll extinguish it. You're not putting any foam on it. You're not putting the fire out. So you got to be brave enough to get close enough to look at it in the eyes and go into that 10 out of 10 and extinguish that fear. The unknown, I'm going to die. I'm going to collapse. I'm going to go crazy. Okay then, bring it on. I want my life back so much that I'm willing to go through that and extinguish that fear. That is fear extinguishing, my friends, okay? And that is what I did. That is what I did every single day, okay? I had to build up the courage to even pick up the fire extinguisher to say, you know what? It's time to put out this big fire, okay? It's going to put out this big lump of fear that's been killed my life for 10 years, left me unemployed, left me missing out on Mother's Days, family birthdays, everything, destroyed my whole life, okay? Now it's time for me to be brave enough to get close enough to this fire that I can actually extinguish it. And the fire is so big that I had to extinguish it every day, fill it up, back out, release it, pour it all out, back in, back out, back in, back out, almost every day for 5 months. And what do you know? I extinguished my fears because I was willing to go through the darkness, that big dark tunnel, to even get close to the fire. That, my friends, is fear extinguishing. Are you willing to get your life back and pick up that extinguisher? If you are, that's the first part of it. Now are you willing to get close enough to that fire where you think you're going to die to extinguish that fire? Because you've got to get close enough. So that, my friends, is fear extinguishing.